Hi guys. So this is the review quizzes for Unit 2. So we're going to go through and just answer all the questions just in case you don't get a chance to play. So the question here is, what are the reactants in the neutralization reaction? And so we're going to need two answers. So the reactants are the things that are needed for the neutralization reaction. So the things that are on the left side, and for the neutralization reaction, it's when an acid is neutralized by a base. The thing's in the way. Everything's frozen up. Okay, let's move that there and hit submit. Oh my, this is going to take a minute if this is how it's going to be. Goodness gracious. All right. The number of valence electrons in oxygen. The number of valence electrons in oxygen. The number of valence electrons in oxygen. I might have said that 4 times before, but weird things are happening. Okay, so oxygen is right here in family 16, so it has 6 valence electrons. To have a complete outer shell, an atom, except for hydrogen and helium, they only need 2. And everybody else needs how many? So you have to think about how many does everything else in the noble gas family have. They're in family 18, so 8. Hello from the otter slide. Ooh, that's really blurry, but you still can figure it out. All right, so identify the product. So the products is everything on the right side. So you just need to find NaCl plus H2O. NaCl plus H2O. Water has a density of 1 gram per centimeter cubed. If you drop an object that has a density of 0.05 grams per centimeter cubed into the water, what's going to happen? Well, it is less dense than the water, so it's going to float. What type of compounds are created by covalent bonds? So ionic, covalent, molecular. Most things that contain which element are organic? Carbon is the one that we need for it to be organic. We are carbon-based life forms. An atom that loses an electron is losing a negative charge. So it's going to be a positive ion because it's going to have more protons than electrons. And so it's going to be a positive ion. Formula for table salt. To get this correct, you have to type it exactly right. Table salt is sodium chloride, NaCl, NaCl, capital A, lowercase capital A, capital N, lowercase a, capital C, lowercase l. The type of chemical reaction that absorbs energy, takes heat in, like entering a building, endothermic, takes heat in. An unknown substance has a pH of 2. It is an acid, a base, or a neutral substance. Acids are 0 to 6. Bases are 8 to 14. And neutral substances are 7. So if it's a pH of 2, it's an acid. And a pretty strong acid, too. It'll almost burn your face. Well, it is a burn your face off acid. The type of covalent bond where the atoms pull equally on the shared electrons. So this is like the juniors versus the seniors on the tug of war, and you can't really easily tell. It's non-polar. It doesn't have opposite charges. Water has a density. It's the same question as before, but this time the object is 5 grams instead of 0.05. So this time the object is 5 times denser than the water, so it's going to sink. The number of valence electrons in sodium. So sodium is over here in family 1. So it has 1 valence electron. Badgers are so cute. Well, Europeans are. Which type of bond shares valence electrons? So ionic, transfer, covalent, share. Cooperate. Cooperate means to share the operations. Covalent means to share the valence electrons. Covalent. How many atoms of hydrogen are there in 2 molecules of sugar? So we've got a molecule of sugar here, and then we're showing we've got 2 of them by this coefficient that's in front. So we need to know how many hydrogens. So we're going to multiply, just like we would in a math problem. Our coefficients multiply. So 2 times 12 is 24. Examples of ionic compounds. So there's 3. I should have put that in there. I'll hopefully remember to go back and change that. So table salt, of course, it's NaCl. Then magnesium oxide, magnesium from over here, oxygen from over here on the periodic table, and lithium fluoride. Lithium's from the left and fluorine from the right. What type of compound is salt? Well, at this point, yeah. A rock has a mass of 500 grams and a volume of 10 centimeters cubed. What is its density? So density is where do you go to get your density license? To the DMV. Density is mass divided by volume. So 500 divided by 10 would be 50, but you can't just put 50 and get it right, because in science, it's just like everything is a word problem. There's nothing but word problems. So you always have to say 50 what? So in this case, it's grams per centimeter cubed. Oh, it stopped typing. There it goes. Okay. Technology. How many atoms of hydrogen in 1 molecule of sugar? So here we don't have a coefficient, so we're just going to look at this number to figure out how many hydrogens we have. So the subscript there with the hydrogen is 12. What type of ions are produced when a base is dissolved in water? Oh, baby, baby. Oh, girl. Oh, honey. Oh, girl, don't leave me now. Oh. The lyrics for every boy band song ever. Boy band starts with a B, base starts with a B. Hydroxide is the answer. I know it's dumb. Covalent bonds form between. So ionic bonds form between something from the left and something from the right, a metal and a non-metal. But covalent bonds form between 2 or more non-metals, something from the right side of the periodic table. It's a shrewd answer. When an atom loses or gains electrons, it becomes an ion. Egon is a character in Ghostbusters. Choose the examples of molecular compounds that have polar bonds, and we have 2 answers. So it's going to be the things that have a hydrogen bonded with something larger. So water is H2O and ammonia is NH3. And both of those are going to be things that are polar. What's the name of this type of reaction where we've got hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide, a really strong acid and a really strong base, and we end up with water and salt? Right, that's the neutralization reaction. Number of valence electrons in neon. Neon is here in family 18, and it's not helium. So we know that it has 8. Number of valence electrons in chlorine. Chlorine's here in family 17, so it has 7. The type of covalent bond where the atoms pull unequally on the shared electrons is polar. It's equal when it's non-polar. This is when it's polar, it's like the juniors versus the seniors, and there's no difference. Ionic bonds form between something from the left, something from the right, a metal and a non-metal. What things are examples of things that we might observe that indicate a chemical change has occurred? So a color change very often shows us that a chemical change has occurred. Tear, folds, and cuts are all physical changes. The cracking or crumbling away of a material normally shows us that a chemical reaction has occurred because the outer layer got turned into something else. Changing phase, boiling, freezing, nope, that's physical. But if a gas is created inside of a liquid, we're going to see bubbles. Identify the reactants. So again, it's blurry, but you just have to be able to tell what's here on the left-hand side. It's that stuff. Examples of molecular compounds. So these are going to be things that are formed from multiple non-metals. So oil, water, and methane are all formed from non-metals. They're molecular compounds. What number goes in the box for the equation to be balanced? So over here, 2 times 2 is 4 aluminums. There's no subscript there, so that means 1. 4 times 1 is 4, and I need it to be 4, so 4 is what needs to go in the box. Examples of things that show a chemical change. So this guy's nose broke off because the marble that he was made out of got turned into limestone by acid rain. So that would be a chemical change. Leaves change color in the fall because when the tree goes dormant, photosynthesis stops, and that's a chemical change. Ice freezing, melting, whatever, physical change. Chopping an onion, physical change. But a car rusting, that's a chemical change. How many sodium ions are needed to balance the charge of one chloride ion? And think about the formula for table salt. It's NaCl. There's no subscripts, so it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Choose the examples of molecular compounds that have non-polar bonds. So these are going to be the things that aren't sticky to themselves and other things. These are going to be the things that don't mix well with water. So carbon dioxide and oil are both non-polar. What's produced by the neutralization of an acid by a base? So we have an acid and a base as the reactants. What are the products? Water and salt. An unknown substance is a pH of 7. So 0 to 6 was acid, 8 to 14 was base, 7 is our neutral substance. I'll pack the lips now. Choose the substances that are organic. So these are going to be things that have carbon in the chemical formula. Are living things are made from living things. So sugar, paper, and cotton are all organic. The outermost electrons are the valence electrons. Properties of ionic compounds: 3D crystal shape, high melting point, conduct electricity when dissolved in water. What kind of bond transfers the valence electrons? Ionic, transfer, covalent, share. Substances that are inorganic, so the things that are not alive, not made from living things. So salt, aluminum, and water are all inorganic. An unknown substance has a pH of 10, so it is 0 to 6 is acid, 8 to 14 is a base. True or false? Covalent bonds are easier to break than ionic bonds. That is true. What kind of ions are produced when an acid is dissolved in water? So it's called the pH scale because it's percent of hydrogen. So yeah, paper shit. Type of chemical reaction that releases, it exits. Exothermic. Examples of things that show a physical change: chopping onions, ice melting, folding paper are all physical changes. I think this is the last question. An atom that gains an electron becomes a negative ion because it's gaining a negative charge. And so it's going to have more electrons than protons, and it's going to be negative. Pretty sure that was it? Yes. All right. So my score was 59,130, and that was with me stopping to explain things and all that stuff. So, try to beat that. I mean, granted, it's not fair. I got them all right, and I have them memorized, and I read fast. But, if you manage to beat that score, screenshot it. I'll give you some extra credit. All right. Y'all have a lovely day. Make good decisions. Don't forget to study. The test is going to be Monday, Tuesday. Bye.